Welcome back, everybody, to episode 44 of Guillermo's Guide to Media Literacy. On today's episode, we are deviating from our original topic of social media and moving on to something that gets talked about on these platforms, specifically my film and our question of the day asked by my wonderful audience. For those who have yet to watch the film, it's called Insane in the Snake Brain, which is a film about a man named Anthony who is talking to a seemingly rich individual about issues with healthcare. Overall, the film covers topics like the corruption of the healthcare and insurance industry, not to mention the film contrasts the perspectives of both the rich and the poor on the scenario. But that's enough spoilers for now, so let's just get right into it, shall we? How does your product use or challenge convictions, and how does it represent social groups or issues? Well, before we jump the gun, let's get into that first part. I would like to cover specifically what genres we even had in the film for those who didn't feel like paying for the tickets. Our main two genres were drama and psychological thriller, and we followed them quite nicely, if you ask me. But I'm not here to market the movie, so on to the actual answer. The first time you can get an idea of what this movie will be like would be right at the beginning, or even right at the snake curling around an Apple logo, which places the image of the Garden of Eden story in the viewer's brain, the whole lying snake scenario, sneaking around, knowledge to deceive people. I had bet Stuart Hall would love that representation, but I'll talk about him next episode. Hint, hint, representation is a reconstruction of reality. They can inform reality, and they are created by media language. That's a quote from Stuart Hall. Anyway, even the credits themselves show this is going to be a very real film, and not something too fictional in some faraway land. However, I would like to move on to the actual film, as was just the darker lighting behind my wonderful colleague Anthony Garcia with a serious expression that highlights the mood of the film. Great acting on his part. You guys should check out his podcast, Anthony's Awesome Podcast. It's a bit on the nose. Trust me, I know. Well, he talks about the same things as I do, but very differently. It's hard to explain, so just check it out yourself. His acting throughout the film, along with mine, followed pretty linearly with what you'd expect from a movie like this. Dark lighting and nearly over-dramatic dialogue, similar to those in telenovelas, but not that satirical, really. Anyway, back to what I was saying about the lighting. Overall, it added a great ambiance to the movie that was really just a chef's kiss. That isn't all that we did, however. Like I said earlier, the dialogue definitely added to the mood, as I even threatened death to Anthony and his family, even appealing to the whole men must protect their family stereotype, something my OG viewers would know. Judith Butler is all about with the whole gender is performance theory. It isn't a feature most would notice. But how about I move on to something else right after this short break? Alright, everybody, I am back and raring to go. Like I said, I am going to be moving on to a few more conventions we followed and get going on some things we thwarted. Well, first off, I want to talk about some of the psychological thriller conventions, which is honestly my favorite genre of the film. Anthony said it was lame. Can't believe this imbecile. Well, the main way we followed psychological thriller was more so at the end of the film, where I'm revealed to be something other than human. Basically, the way the film went was that I shook Anthony's hand after tricking him into joining me in the corrupted healthcare business. But once I do, we see a close-up of his hand. A snake bite. Just 2 dots because we aren't professional makeup artists, but hey, what works. Now, not only does it show that I'm evil, but it even portrays the entirety of healthcare and the snake that represented it as more than just the logo, but a symbol of deceit and evil. We didn't just come up with all of this on the fly. No. We used the Joker movie as a huge inspiration for the film as a whole, really. But alright, I think that's just about enough psychological thriller conventions. So let's move on to drama. Alright, So our inspo was definitely the Hunger Games, since me and my teammates really enjoyed the climactic dialogue and scenes, even calmer scenarios, like when they show off their skills. I also personally love the movie, and our director loves the books, so making the film came quite naturally. Like I said before with the dialogue, we had made sure that the words felt like there was weight behind them in the acting, as it would feel pretty empty without it. We kind of automatically agreed on focusing on the heavier dialogue, and overall, I think it added a lot. Obviously, acting and dialogue isn't everything in the film, but also what happens in general, which is exactly why we included an easy-to-follow conversation, but one that could effectively provide a problem that is occurring. In this case, it's Anthony's inability to pay for health insurance and my attempts to hire or make a deal with him. Obviously, it isn't some astoundingly unique plot, but it was fun to make and serves its purpose swimmingly. Alright, to end off the podcast, I would just like to go over some representations we had throughout the film. Now, the main two groups were those not as fortunate, even struggling to pay off certain debts, and then those in control of the whole situation. When it comes to representing these sides, we wanted to do so by using the outfits and looks of the individuals. If you watch the film, which you totally should, by the way, you would see the striking difference between Anthony's casual, clearly old shirt compared to my nice, smooth, and new dress shirt, which makes me look quite dashing. But clothes aren't where our representation ends. We also decided to reflect their social classes through their personality as best as we could. As a viewer can tell pretty obviously from the beginning, Anthony is talking from a position of vulnerability, almost desperation as the conversation goes on. However, this does not mean he doesn't try standing up for his own personal beliefs, although briefly. As for my character, we figured the one coming from the position of strength would be much more confident, although I did end up going close to arrogant, which our director took as a good feature to keep within the film. This was my 44th episode. Tune in next time and have a wonderful day.